Hi, my name is Katherine Shim. I'm a Scientific Review Officer at the NIDCD, and I'm happy to be here at this workshop to describe the NIH peer review process. And this presentation is particularly geared to new investigators, so postdocs, new faculty members doing research in the NIDCD mission areas. The goal of the NIH peer review is to provide an expert, fair, and timely review that is confidential and free from influence so that NIH can ultimately fund the best applications and the best research. Since by design, PIs are not to influence the peer review process, it can often seem like a black box. So this presentation is meant to help you better understand that process with the hope that it will help you to better prepare your applications for review. So what happens after you submit your application? So you, as the PI, submits your application to an authorized organizational representative, or AOR, in your grants office. And that person will route your application to grants.gov, which is a large central clearinghouse for grants submitted to a number of federal agencies, including the NIH. From there, your application is routed to ERA Commons, which is the online system which manages the NIH review of grant applications. And from Commons, your application will be routed to the Division of Receipt and Referral, where a number of administrative checks will be performed, and a Ph.D. level scientist will make two important decisions. The first is the institute that will ultimately fund your research, and the second is the study section that will review your application. So how can you have a say in this decision? So there is an optional reform called the assignment request form. And here you can fill in suggested institutes that will fund your research, as well as institutes that you do not want to fund your research. And you could also suggest a study section that will review your application. So there are a number of online sources that'll help you to make these choices of institute and study section. So most applications, R01 applications, are reviewed in a standing study section at the Center for Scientific Review. And so if you go to that website, there is information on where you can enter your keyword or title of your research to find a study section, or there is a tool called the Assisted Referral tool, which is available at this website, where you could enter in the abstract of your grant application or any other text to help you identify an appropriate study section for your research. So here for the assisted referral tool, I've entered some text from the NIDCD webpage on age-related hearing loss. And you can see that there's a number of various study sections that the tool spits out, which provides, and you can click on these links to look into more detail into each of these different study sections. Another online tool is the NIH Reporter Matchmaker, which is at this URL. And here, again, you can enter text from your grant application, and this will help you to identify institutes that would be good sources of funding for your research. So again, for the age-related hearing loss text, one of the top hits is the NIDCD. One important thing to check is the funding opportunity announcement. So it's important that an institute that you suggest is actually participating in the funding of your research. So here for the funding opportunity announcement for the investigator-initiated parent R01, not clinical trial, virtually all institutes participate, although there are a couple that do not, such as the Fogarty Institute. So it's important to make sure that the institute you suggest participates in this FOA. If they don't, then your application runs the risk of being returned and not without review. For some FOAs, the institute and study section are predetermined. So for the NIDCD Early Career Research Award, the institute that participates is only the NIDCD. And for these applications, there's a standing study section within the NIDCD that reviews these applications called the Communication Disorders Review Committee, or CDRC. So in this particular instance, the choice of institute and study section is already determined before you submit your application. In addition to the institute and study section, on the assignment request form, there's also a space where you could exclude individuals who should not review your application. So here's a spot where you could name people who are potentially in conflict with your application. In addition, you could identify specific areas of scientific expertise for the reviewers of your application. Another way to influence the choice of institute and study section is in the cover letter. So here you can write a cover letter where you suggest the institute and center for assignment. You can suggest the study section, such as a standing study section in CSR for R01s or CDRC for the NIDCD ECR R21. You can list areas of expertise that would be needed to evaluate your application. You could exclude reviewers due to valid conflicts of interest, and you can also describe any special situations. One important thing is to not suggest specific reviewers, since the NIH takes these suggestions with suspicion. Please do not suggest reviewers for your application. Leave it to the people at the NIH to come up with the experts to review your application. And you can almost be guaranteed that reviewers that you suggest will not be contacted to review your application. It's important to note that the cover letter and the assignment request form are optional, and reviewers will not see the cover letter or the assignment request form. So as your application is going through this process, please be sure to check on Commons to make sure that the assignment of institute and study section are appropriate. There's always the possibility that you might not agree with these decisions, and there's contact information on Commons to catch these mistakes early. So once your application has been routed to a study section, an official called the scientific review officer like me will try to find the best scientific and technical expertise to review your application. There are some constraints, however, so there could be conflicts of interest. So any person who will have a direct financial benefit from your application, if it's funded, is certainly in conflict. Any scientist from your institution would also be in conflict. Any of your collaborators would also be scientists who would be in conflict and could not review your application. There's also the constraint of time availability. Sometimes reviewers are not available on the date in which a study section will meet. And there's also considerations for study section composition. So we don't want to have reviewers all from one institution, and they should be a diverse panel that represents institutions from across the United States, ideally. And so the SRO, or Scientific Review Officer, is going to pick generally 3, sometimes 4 experts to review your application. So how will these reviewers review your application? So I urge you to go back to that funding opportunity announcement and look at section 5 of the funding opportunity. And there you'll see a bunch of text, and this is the same identical text that the SRO will be giving to reviewers for them to think about as they're reviewing applications. And so please be familiar with all of these review questions that are presented in section 5 of the funding opportunity announcement. And so for R01s or the ECR R21, there are review criteria. And so here, they're listed here for the scored review criteria. And so the reviewers are going to provide a written evaluation for each of these criteria, as well as provide a numerical score from 1 to 9, with 1 being the best score. They're also going to think about these additional review criteria, which include study timeline, protections for human subjects if you're performing human subjects research, and these other items, and will also provide a written assessment of these, but no numerical score. And then they're also going to think about additional review considerations, which are listed here. And so before the meeting, the reviewers will ultimately come to a preliminary overall impact score for your application. And this is not going to be a numerical average of each of the scored review criteria, but an overall assessment of the impact of your research on the field. And then those preliminary overall impact scores will be averaged, and the lower scoring applications will be streamlined, which means they'll be identified as possibly not discussed at the time of the meeting. So when the review meeting occurs, the first assigned reviewer is going to go through and describe your application, go through each of these scored review criteria, and then the second and third assigned reviewers will also go through these scored review criteria and talk about the strengths and weaknesses of your application. There might be some discussion and questions from the rest of the panel, and then the assigned reviewers will talk about these additional review criteria, such as the timeline and protection of human subjects. At that point, the entire panel will score your application, and then the reviewers will go on to discuss these additional review considerations, and then move on to the next application. So this is basically how the review will go, and it'll take approximately 15 minutes or so for the panel to consider your application during discussion. So for early stage investigators and new investigators, there are special benefits, and during R01 review, all applications from early stage investigators are identified. There's special instructions given to reviewers. The reviewers are to have less expectation for preliminary data, and reviewers should place a greater emphasis on the quality of training and the applicant's productivity during that training period. And when feasible, the applications from early stage investigators are clustered during discussions so that they're not interdispersed between R01s from established investigators who have been in the field for a long time. So these things will help to focus reviewers on the career stage of the early stage investigators. Once the review is completed, the applicants will receive a summary statement. And so what's in a summary statement? The first page is going to contain the impact score that was determined at the time of the meeting and the percentile. If your application was streamlined or not discussed, there will be an ND on the face page. If your application was discussed, there will be a resume and summary of discussion that was written by the SRO, and then a critique section, which is the written reviews of each of the assigned reviewers. They'll have the criterion scores, but not that overall impact score. That will be present on the face page. And then there'll be a resume of recommendations from the SRO dealing with various things like human subjects, inclusions, vertebrate animals, any administrative issues that were brought up during the review, and budget. And the last part of the summary statement will be the roster of the study section panel. So what's the time frame for all of this? After your application is assigned to a study section, it'll take about 3 to 4 months for reviewers to read your application and to come to the review meeting. After the review meeting occurs, within a matter of a few days, your impact score will be viewable on ERA Commons. And then usually in about 30 days, but 4 to 8 weeks after the review meeting, your summary statement will be viewable on Commons. So who do you contact during this rather lengthy process? The SRO is the contact for the time period after your application is assigned to a study section and the review meeting. After the review meeting occurs, the program officer is the person who you should contact with any questions about your application. Another thing is that when possible, for the release of the summary statement, the release of summary statements from early stage investigators and new investigators are prioritized. So the SRO tries to release those before any of the other summary statements from other established investigators. And so the 3 takeaways that I'd like you to have from review, the first is when you're writing your cover letter, do not suggest specific reviewers. If you want to exclude reviewers due to a conflict, give a reason why. The second is to be familiar with Section 5 of the funding opportunity announcement. This will contain all of the review questions that reviewers are thinking about as they're evaluating your application. And the last is keep your research plan understandable to a broader group of scientists. Don't rewrite your application with the 3 top experts in your field in mind. They might not be reviewing your application. There are a number of constraints, conflicts, time availability. And so keep your research plan broad and make it exciting for a broad group, and the peer review group is the one that is your audience and the ones that you should want to be on board with your research.